Welcome back to Crash Test Hockey. Thanks for joining me today. I haven't seen you in a while. There's a big reason behind that. I'll put up a link to a video I made just on that alone. But the gist of it is that my wife and I had a baby girl not too long ago. I'm also working a lot more, and we'll be moving in the spring. So stick with me through these changes because next season I should have a lot more time for YouTube, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of you then. But I'll continue to make videos when I can. I'm going to shut up and dive right into this. Let's start grading the clubs in the Atlantic Division. Keep in mind as we move along here that all the stats that I spew out to you have been taken from Friday, January 6th. So there's that. Let's get started with the Montreal Canadiens, who are where we thought they would be, right? You know, dead last in the Atlantic. Only 27th in the NHL, though. There are 5 teams worse than them. They're just not rolling over for Bedard. They can be an exciting team to watch, which is what the least you can expect from a team who's rebuilding like that. Goals for, the 29th in the league. Goals against, 31st. The power play is dead last, which is a bit shocking, seeing as how St. Louis is coaching the team. Their PK is 23rd. They've only got 3 players with double-digit goals. That's, I want to say, about half the average. But, you know, they've got a lot of young guns who are up-and-comers there. Caulfield leading the group with Suzuki. When it comes to goals from defensemen, they're 27th in the league with 12 of them. They've gone 1-8-1 in their last 10, and they've lost 6 in a row. I'm going to give them a D. You could argue me down to a D- or up to a D+, because they can be fun to watch, right? Even though they're a building club, it's not like, you know, watching Anaheim. Sorry, Duck fans. So there's that. Next up, let's talk Ottawa Senators. This is a team that I thought would be fighting for a wild card spot this season, and they've been turning it around lately, so there's still some time. They're 7th in the Atlantic, 24th in the NHL. Goals for, 23rd. Goals against, 15th. Their special teams is amazing. They're 3rd on the power play, 6th on the penalty kill. It's just dragging them forward here. When it comes to players with double-digit goals, they've got 6. Total goals from defensemen, they're 23rd in the league with 15. In the last 10 games, they've been 6-3-1. They've won their last 2. I'm going to give them a C+. They're definitely, you know, a fun team to watch. I think if they could just put it together, Dorian, you know, went out and got Giroux and DeBrincat, brought in Talbot. Not everything has worked out. He kind of forgot about veteran defensemen here. Shabbat and Zub need a little bit more support on the blue line because they've got a lot of youngsters back there, although Sanderson has looked good. So we'll see how this goes, right? Is it time for the Detroit Red Wings to start turning this boat around? I think yes is the answer. I mean, Yzerman went picked up some veterans in the offseason to help stabilize the youth on the club. Perron, for example, Husso, Sherratt, just for starters. And they seem to be a better team. Maybe I expected a little bit more, but there's so much promise with all the youngsters here that I'm not worried for them at all. They're 6th in the Atlantic. They're 23rd in the NHL. Goals for, the 24th. Goals against, 20th. Power play, 23rd. Penalty kill, 22nd. They only have 4 players with double-digit goals. There's been some injuries here too, right? Bertuzzi, for instance, would probably have around 15 or so if he wasn't out of the lineup. Verana is at least, you know, a 20-goal guy for the season, so that hurts as well. We all know he's been waived. But there are some highlights when it comes to their goals from their defensemen. They're 15th in the league with 18. Seider, nobody can just stop talking about this guy. I've had him in my fantasy league for the last couple of seasons now. He's a great kind of sneaky little pickup. I don't know how sneaky he will be next season. We'll see. In their last 10, the Wings have been 3-6-1. They lost their last game. I'm going to give them a B-. I think Nedeljkovic has just imploded this season. I know he was never an amazing goaltender. He was kind of streaky, but it's just not been his year. And maybe this is too much for Husso. Maybe the Wings could use a veteran goaltender next season, to help Husso out, like a James Reimer or something from San Jose at the moment. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But they're on the rise. It'll probably take another 3 years, but they're coming for you. Toronto, Boston, Tampa Bay. The Florida Panthers. What happened? Team chemistry, new coach, injuries, bad goaltending. At the beginning of the season, I had this inkling that there was a possibility Florida would not make it into the playoffs. I know it's easy to say that now, but with how unpredictable Bobrovsky is, with another new coach coming in, with a trade that takes out a couple of huge players like Huberdeau and Uyghur out of the lineup, that's not peanuts. That's going to mess with your chemistry, even though Tkachuk has been amazing so far. I just don't know. It doesn't feel like they're going to be able to turn this ship around. They're 5th in the Atlantic right now, 21st in the NHL. Goals for, they're 11th. Not bad. Goals against, 23rd. I think it's too much to ask for Spencer, from Spencer Knight, right at this point in his career. Anyway, their power play is 20th. That has slid quite a bit. Their PK is 21st. Players with double-digit goals. There's only 3. Barkov is just not producing like he has in the past. I know he's been in and out of the lineup with an illness and such, but he should have at least, a baker's dozen goals right now, and he doesn't. Duclair, maybe he could have around 10 so far. There's other players who just aren't producing as like they did last season. So there's that. When it comes to goals from defensemen, though, they're 3rd in the league with 24. Seeing Uyghur go to the Flames, that number kind of surprises me. Ekblad has looked good for starters, yeah. And then in their last 10, they've been 4-6-0. They've won their last 2. I'm going to give them a D. You could argue me down or up from to a D- or a D+ at the moment. And all the draft picks that they've given away, that Sherratt deal, oh my God, a first rounder. I don't think I talked to one person or heard one analyst reporter who thought that Sherratt would get a first. Anyways, I'm not gonna jump on the blame bandwagon here more than I already have. Anyways, next, the Buffalo Sabres. I was laughed at when I told some of my friends to watch out. This team is going to be better. And that top line may be one of the best in the league with Thompson, Tuck, and Skinner. And it's kind of turned out that way, hasn't it? Not to mention, I was like, Cousins, this could be his year to take a step forward. And he has. He's cooled off a little bit lately. But, I mean, this Buffalo team is showing some depth right now. Then there's the defense. Dahlin, of course, has showed himself to be one of the top 10 defensemen in the league. Samuelsson has played really well beside him as well. Power isn't out of place. He's going to continue to take a step forward as well. Lyubushkin, keep your head up when he's on the ice. Now, they're 4th on the Atlantic, and I don't think it's out of the realm that they might, with capitals, push for a wild card spot. Now they're 21st in the NHL. They're 3rd in goals for, 19th in goals against. That needs improvement, obviously. Their special teams, their power play is 2nd. Not surprising with the weapons they have. Their PK is 26th. When it comes to players with double-digit goals, they've got 6. They're in the club, ladies and gentlemen. Defensemen with goals, they rank 26th in the league with 14. And in their last 10, they've been 7-2-1. Won their last game. How do I grade this club? I gotta give them an A-. This is definitely an up-and-comer. They finally have shaken that rebuild cloud of shame out of their locker room. After the Eichel trade, things have just started moving forward. Maybe there's a bit of a hiccup there with the signing and then the trading of Hall. But otherwise, the sunshine is coming, Sabres fans. The Tampa Bay Lightning, nothing matters. We all know they're going to do well in the playoffs, right? The numbers don't matter. They're third in the Atlantic, 11th, in the NHL after their loss to the Jets on Friday. Goals for 8th in the league, goals against 11th, right around where they usually are. Power play is 6th, penalty kill 10th, ditto with that. When it comes to players with double-digit goals, they've got 6. Ho-hum. Defensemen, or goals from defensemen, only 22nd in the league with 16. I know there's been a transition with Sergachev taking over Hedman's spot on the power play. Maybe that's just, an experiment. Hedman will get that spot back in the playoffs. Cooper says anyway. So we'll see how that turns out. In their last 10, they're 6-4-0. They've lost 2 right now. The grade, again, it's like who cares? It's a B. I'll give them a B-. You can argue me up. Maybe. I mean, Vasilevsky maybe has had a bit of a slow start too, and Brian Elliott. I never knew why they re-signed him to another year. And there's other goaltenders I thought elsewhere who I thought could be able to help them for just as cheap. Because every time he goes in net, not every time, but it seems to be a bit of an ugly piece of work there. So, in any case, that's that. Now let's talk about my beloved Maple Leafs. Another one of these stats don't matter kind of things, but for a different reason than Tampa's, because you know why. They're 2nd in the Atlantic, 4th in the NHL, goals for 12th, goals against 5th. Their power play is 9th. It slipped a tiny bit. Their PK has really slipped. It's 17th right now. I think they kind of miss Mikheyev and Kashe in that spot, although Kashe really only played for half the season, and now he's continuing to have concussion problems. A sad story there. Moving on, they've got 6 forwards with double-digit goals. No, sorry, they've got 5. Interesting. If Mikheyev was on the team, that number would probably be 6. Goals from defensemen. They're 31st in the league with 10. And I know Riley has been out with injury for a while, but I don't think that would matter. I mean, he had that 1 year with 20 goals. I'm not sure he's ever going to do that again. He doesn't really have much of a shot from the point. I don't feel he's the right guy for the power play either, but he's the only guy they sort of have. I'd like to see them experiment more with Lindgren at that spot. Sandin, meh. Even Giordano, if you're desperate, you could throw him in there. He can do anything. Their defense is better this season. They're a lot better defensively than people give them credit for, as I've read some of the stats to you. So, yeah, they need a left winger to play with Tavares and Marner there. But do I think they need a defenseman who could punch you in the face in front of the net during the playoffs? Yeah, I still think they could use that guy, even though their defensive numbers look good. Because if you look at any other team in the playoffs, they have players like those, at least 2 of them. So I know, old man yelling at cloud right now. In their last 10, they were 5-4-1. They lost their last game, and their goaltenders have taken a bit of a slide recently. Hopefully that doesn't last too much longer. If it goes more than a week or 2 from now, maybe the panic button starts to be hit. They're my favorite team. All I see is holes right now. How do I grade them? I'll give them I'll give them a B, but you could argue me up to a B plus. So yeah. And lastly, let's talk about the Dominators. At the beginning of the season, I wasn't 100% convinced the Bruins would make the playoffs. I thought it would be close. And man, have they proved everybody wrong. Krejci's been away for a season, and he's come back, and he hasn't missed a step. And and then Marchand and McAvoy were injured for the first part of the season as well. They were supposed to be out until at least almost December, and they came back early. And you thought the thinking was, maybe the Bruins they'll dig themselves in too much of a hole to be able to recuperate after those players come back. But they've been unbelievable. Lindholm has been a horse on the D line as well. Gritslick has been good. Their offense has looked magical, really. They're first in the Atlantic, first in the NHL with 64 points. Goals for, first. Goals against, first. Their goaltending, yes, I haven't mentioned that, has looked amazing. Allmark. Can he keep this up? That's a bit of a question mark, but I mean, halfway through the season, he still looks good. Swayman has sort of been up and down, but he's looked a little bit better of late. Their power play is fourth. Their PK is first. They're second in face-off win percentage as well, so that that helps their special teams. Players with double-digit goals, they've got 6. When it comes to goals from defensemen, this might be a bit of a weakness, but who cares if the special teams is that good, especially the power play. They're 25th in the league with 14 goals from their D-men. And their last 10 games, they're 7-0-3. They've won 2. How do I grade this team? Who wouldn't give them an A+, right? Have you ever seen Back to the Future? Do you remember the character Biff? The old version of Biff, the old man, gives the younger version the sports almanac. And then, of course, the younger version uses all this information, makes big bets, wins all this money on bookies, etc. It kind of feels like Boston with coaches, doesn't it? Like, oh, Claude Julien, he's been great, but he's not good anymore. We're going to throw him away. We're going to bring in Sullivan, and he's going to end up being one of the best coaches in the league for a very long time. Until, he's gotten a little bit stale lately. Let's go get this guy from the St. Louis Blues, formerly of the Dallas Stars, who's now turning out to be fantastic in Montgomery. It's amazing how lucky they've been with their coaches, or you can say insightful or whatever, tuned in. Sweeney has just done a real great job. I mean, Montgomery looked good when he was with the Stars. He looked like he could be a potential future coach of the year. And of course, he had to leave the league because of personal issues. And then he became an assistant with the Blues the season after. And then the Bruins snatched him up, and they look like freaking geniuses right now. Yeah. And that's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining me today, especially my subscribers for sticking with me over the slow period the past little while. Things will get better. If you happen to be new to the channel, please smash that subscribe button. I will continue to push out videos. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up as well. If you want to support me even further, you can go to my crowdfunding page. You'll find a link down below. It's called Buy Me a Coffee. You can donate by the month or just a one-time thing for as little as $1. Anything and everything is much appreciated. Thanks again, and hope to see you soon.